My husband left me for my best friend. Now she's shocked. I won't be her emotional support animal through her cancer diagnosis. My ex, Wyatt, left me for Violet 18 months ago. Violet had been my best friend for 12 years. When I started having marriage problems, she was the first person I called. She'd come over with wine, listen to me cry about Wyatt's distance, and give me advice like, you need to be more spontaneous and try surprising him at work with lunch. I literally gave her my marriage counselor's notes to help her help me. Turns out she was using them as a playbook. The day I found out, Violet showed up at my door with Wyatt to explain things properly. While I stood there processing that my husband and best friend were together, she actually said, I know this is hard, but I know you better than anyone, so I know you'll understand. We couldn't help falling in love. Then she added, besides, I have 12 years of your deepest fears, insecurities, and trauma stored right here, tapping her temple. So really, I'm the perfect stepmom for your kids. I know exactly what damaged you, so I can make sure not to repeat it. Wyatt stood there, nodding like she'd said something profound instead of absolutely psychotic. Then he defended her, saying, Violet's been taking notes on our conversations for months to understand our family dynamic better. That's dedication. Not everyone would put in that effort. I swear my heartbreak just evaporated into thin air. This man really thought his girlfriend keeping a stalker journal on his family was romantic. I got the house in primary custody. Wyatt got his girlfriend, and every other weekend. Everything was manageable until they got married 4 months later. Violet sent me a wedding invitation with a handwritten note saying, I know it's too soon, but you'll always be my maid of honor in spirit. The audacity was so stunning, I actually framed it. It hangs in my bathroom as a reminder that people can truly be delusional. After the wedding, Violet went into overdrive trying to force a friendship. Birthday cards that said missing my bestie. Texts with old photos captioned remember the good times? She'd show up early to kid exchanges, trying to chat about Netflix shows like we used to. She even bought me a Christmas present and left it on my porch with a note that said, for my sister from another mister. I donated it unopened. Wyatt kept texting me that I was being petty, and that Violet was trying to bridge the gap. I told him the only gap I was interested in was the one between us getting wider. The worst was when she'd corner me at school events. She'd bounce over and start talking about her life like we were still friends. Oh my god, you'll never guess what happened at yoga today? I'd stare at her until she got the hint and walked away. She'd text Wyatt immediately, and he'd send me paragraphs about how I was making things awkward for the kids. Then 3 weeks ago it happened. Wyatt called to say Violet needed to talk to me about something important. I said unless it was about the kids, I didn't care. He said it was bigger than that. I hung up. The next day at pickup, they both got out of the car. Violet looked terrible. She'd clearly been crying for days, and she was wearing a headscarf. As they walked toward me, Wyatt had his arm around her like she might collapse. They stopped in front of me, and Violet's eyes welled up. She said quietly, I have cancer, stage 3. There was this long silence where they both stared at me, waiting. Violet continued, I need you. You're the only one who really knows me. You were there when my mom had cancer. You know how scared I am. I looked at her for a moment, then turned to Wyatt and said, kids have science fair projects due Monday. Don't forget the poster boards. Violet completely broke down. She started sobbing, saying I was heartless and cruel. I was there for you through everything. Your miscarriage, your mom's death, everything. Wyatt jumped in saying I was being inhuman and that Violet needed her support system. She's fighting for her life and you're acting like she's nothing. I looked directly at Violet and said, you were there for me so you could gather intel for your affair. You're not my friend. You're not my anything. Your diagnosis doesn't change what you did. Wyatt called me a monster, among other choice words. Violet was still sobbing as they left. That night, the call started. Mutual friends saying illness puts everything in perspective. Violet's sister called me evil. Even my own mother said I should be the bigger person during this difficult time. The phrase she has cancer was thrown at me like it was a magic eraser for betrayal. But then I remembered Violet sitting on my couch, taking notes while I sobbed about my marriage. I remembered her suggesting I go on a girls' weekend so she could have alone time with Wyatt. I remembered her holding my hand and saying, I'll always be here for you, while actively destroying my life. The woman who weaponized our friendship to steal my husband doesn't get my sympathy just because her cells turned against her.